After watching that last presentation, I too am going to do a 25-minute presentation in an hour. So thanks to my friends at Nutshell. At first I was like, what am I doing here? And then I was backstage reading all the graffiti on the wall and I read Go Bucks. And I was like, that should not be there. I got my Sharpie and changed it to Got Books. So I was like, I'm here, mission completion. No one's writing Go Bucks in an Ann Arbor venue ever. My name is Matthew Altruda. I wear many hats in this community, but really all the hats fit one head, and that is building community and making Ann Arbor a better place. I think it's very important for me personally. I have to define the vision of my career so all my moving parts make sense. But really, the vision is to make anyone who's ever lived in Ann Arbor who moves away regret it for the rest of their life. Like that's my vision. So everything I do kind of revolves around that. If you lived here and moved to San Francisco, I want you on social media being like, man, why am I not at the top of the park or Sonic Lunch or like that's my goal. And really it feeds everything I do. I work for the Bank of Ann Arbor, which is really amazing to, honestly, as a music promoter, as someone involved in the community. If you would have said to me 10 years ago, you're going to work for a bank, I would have been like, oh. But you know, I found a bank that wanted me, and then when I got to learn about them, I fell in love with them, and now it's a happy family. The way it all happened is I was managing bands, and they put this concert series together called Sonic Lunch. Many of you, if you live in Ann Arbor, have heard of it, but it's a free concert series every Thursday in Ann Arbor, and it's awesome. It's like you take your lunch break, you go see amazing bands. We've had everyone from Darren Criss from Glee, to Vance Joy, to ZZ Ward, to Green Sky Bluegrass, to Laith Al-Sadi, to Michelle Shamuel. The list goes on and on. It's very passion-driven. And I started putting this concert series together for the bank after a year after they're doing it, kind of like I'm a go-getter. So I was like, I saw this festival and I was like, let me help. I'll do it for free. I'll book bands. Let me do this. I love this. So they gave me the opportunity and I started promoting it on social media. And the bank was like, wow, he's really promoting social media for our event. And at that time, they're like, well, we don't have anyone doing social media for the bank. And it kind of just, well, you know, the time was right and we joined forces, and now I am social technology is my title at the bank. And it's a title that I thought would be awesome because social media is kind of a worthless title. I don't know, it's like social media, it's like media. What's media worth? Media. It just doesn't sound that great. So I was like, I want to be social technology because as we all know, technology sounds like ching ching. And Mark Holtz from the bank is here. He knows, like, social technology and events. So that's my bank side. I'm also on the radio on Ann Arbor's 107.1. I do a show called Treetown Sound that features Michigan music. I'm also co-owner of AFC Ann Arbor, which is a minor league soccer team that plays Detroit City and all those great teams in the MPSL. I'm sure a lot of you are maybe from the Detroit area. We're the team that knocked them out of the playoffs. For those keeping score at home, and that's been an amazing project for me working with other co-owners. But really, you know, just like all of you, I'm a member of the Great Ape family. I'm happy to be alive, and really my career revolves around that. I'm a single dad, and I love my baby, and it's really important to me to do my time correctly. I always like to talk about like time in general, like mechanical time everyone thinks about in the past. And how slow everything moved. And we live in a day and age now where everything is moving so fast. It's like in 10 minutes we can catch up on everything that's happened in the world. Where in the past it was like, you never heard about nothing. It's like Spain took over who? I mean, you know, it just didn't happen that way. But now everything is at our fingertips, and it's almost like, what are we competing for? And like, they asked me when I did this, they're like, what do you want the name of your presentation to be? And I was like, I don't know, free is the new black, because it's true. I mean, what are we competing for? Are we competing for people's money? I mean, I remember when apps started coming out, I was like, why are they giving this away? This makes no sense, make money. But then you start realizing, you know what? You have to do stuff for free because people expect it for free. And what are we competing for? We're competing for people's time because no one has time. I mean, all of you made time to be here, that's awesome. But I have no time. I have like 12 jobs and I'm always busy and I have a great family. So when bands put out music and people do different stuff, like what are they trying to do? They're trying to get me to take 5 minutes out of my crazy day and listen. So as you move forward in your career, you need to think about, like, how am I competing for people's time? And that's really how I live my life. I always like to tell people, like, your routine is your life. If you wake up in the morning and you work for someone else and you make them a lot of money and you go home and you eat dinner and then you watch Jeopardy and then you watch Friends and then you watch Little Colbert, maybe drink a beer and go to sleep, like, that's your life. Congratulations, that's your life. Your life is work for someone else, watch TV, drink a beer, go to bed. And that routine will be your life for the rest of your life. So, like, how do you break out of that? How do you do creative things? How do you, live your life? I've always thought in my own crazy way that if I stay up 2 hours later than every human and do something cool, then at the end of the year, I'm gonna live about an extra 3 weeks, and over the course of like 10 years, so like I'm 41 right now, but really I'm like 62. I am, because I'm 62 in awake years, and that's extremely important to me. I can't cheat time. No one can cheat time, but I will take advantage of my time. I have a child, and I always talk to him a lot. I'm a great parent coach, at least I try to be. I'm either raising a great leader or a great evil monster. We'll find out with years to come. But I'm always preaching to him about this, and I think it's very important. I think a lot of you, when you hear it from someone, you start to understand. When I came out, I said I was a member of the Great Ape family, which is hilarious. I love going to crazy presentations, and I usually start out like, don't raise your hand if you're a member of the Great Ape family. And see, all of you, we all agree you're members of the Great Ape family. But I think it's very tribal to even think about. It's like, we really are members of the Great Ape family. We really did evolve from cavemen. The music that we dance to now when we go out to clubs is very similar to people dancing 10,000 years ago. And as social technology booms and things become more accessible, we need to remember that we are really basic. You go outside late at night, you look up at the stars, you know how little you feel? That's how little you actually are. I hate to give you the reality check. I know Joe and Guy came up here and talked about their amazing building, but they're just like us. We're just little people running around under the stars, trying to have babies, good lives, and survive in this crazy world with crazy leaders and crazy things going on. I think it's very important to realize that. The radio show and Sonic Lunch and all of that has been awesome for the Bank of Ann Arbor and me. I think the millennials in your generation, the great generation of asking too many questions and not working hard enough, is becoming the leaders in this country. It's true. I'm sorry. Right? It's kind of true. You got to be a go-getter. I always, when I talk to people and they ask me to be a job reference or something like that, I'm like, just tell them that you want the job. It's like, stop talking. Just be like, I want this job. You should hire me. No one's going to do a better job. No one. I'm going to work my butt off. I'll work 12 hours a day. This is me. This is what I want to do with my life. And when you say those things in call to action, it's very responsive. Me personally in my life, I work Sonic Lunch because I asked for it. I work for the soccer team because I asked for it. Pretty much everything I've done in my career is because I stuck my neck out there and tried it. For example, I have a radio show. The only reason why I have a radio show is because one of the big radio DJs, they were doing a roast for him to benefit in town, and they asked to book my band, and I was like, one of the bands I was managing, I was like, can I be one of the roasters? And they were like, oh, I don't know. And they let me. And it was like Ken Fisher and like Lee Berry, the head of the Michigan Theater. And I wrote a roast like Comedy Central style, which was obviously a mistake. And it's actually up on YouTube if you want to hear me just trash Zingermans and Borders and everyone in the room. But the head of Cumulus Radio was there. And he watched it, and he thought it was hilarious. And I got an email the next day that said, do you want your own radio show? And I was like, hell yes, I do. However, it's like when I was trying to make myself be a roaster and do that, I was kind of nervous. And I remember sitting there and being like, dude, you have to do this. Email them right now and ask if you can be a roaster. You have to do this. You want to do this. And so I did it, and I got a radio show out of it. And, as I look at that now, it's like that radio show opened up so many channels for me. having a public persona for one, and supporting local arts and music that I love. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. And if I would have chickened out, it wouldn't have been there. So number one is you have to ask for it. Getting back to free is the new black. I mean, it kind of works with the whole perception and the message and how we internally see stuff. I like being in the music business and having social media. I mean, it's so easy. Like half these bands that are promoting themselves aren't even drawing crowds. They're just presenting themselves on social media in a great position. Perception is king. People see it. They're like, Axe body spray. Go see this band. Whatever they're doing, it's working. And the communication message is there. So I told a few people I was going to mention some things in my speech. And I'm going to share this story because I just had my mom's birthday. But this is really how the message is kept. So as a child, my dad worked at CVS Pharmacy. Right down the street from my house. He was a manager. I came from a very hardworking family. And I'd always go down there and visit him with my mom. And I went there with my mom to visit my dad, and I got a pack of baseball cards. She bought some crap, threw it in the bag. We walked back home. I got home, got my cards, looked in there, pulled out condoms. And I was like, what are these? And she's like, oh, it's for adults. You put them on the end of your cigarettes. And I was like, all right. Cool. And you know, my parents don't smoke anymore. This is a long time ago. I'm 41. This is the 70s, back when you smoked in movie theaters and at the mall and everything else. So a couple weeks came by and my mom's birthday was coming up, and I thought to myself, man, I need to get something for my mom for my birthday. For her birthday. So I went down to CVS and went up to the counter and I was like, I had my baseball cards and went up there and I was like, hi, I'd like some condoms. And I'm like maybe 13 years old. And I mean, there's probably 13-year-olds that are promiscuous, me not at the time. And they laughed at me because they knew my dad. And they thought that maybe my dad was putting them up. And they're like, yeah, you want condoms? I was like, yeah, it's my mom's birthday. I want to get condoms. So maybe they were thinking I didn't want any more competition for food in the family. So they laughed at me. But honestly, I'm like 13 years old holding a pack of Topps baseball cards from 1987, thinking that my Mark McGwire rookie card was in here, and these bastards at the counter are stopping me from getting my baseball card. So I was like, give me the effing condoms and let me get out of here. So I humored them and humored them and humored them, and finally they're like, all right, you want condoms? What kind do you want? And I was like, I don't know, the kind to fit a camel. So that's my mom's birthday story, but I think the most important message in that story is perception is king. So like as a child, I realized condoms were for cigarettes, and the perception of that has changed, and obviously that's now on camera, so you can share that with her. It's June Altruda on Twitter or something like that. So here I am now with my career, and I was hoping I could, open this up for questions, but that would take forever. So what am I really up here talking about? And that's like community building. I think it's most important for me in my career and for all of you is like, how can we build a stronger community? How can we get Ann Arbor on the same page? How can all my circles line up and really deliver what I need for my career? And that is really fulfillment and being happy. There's so much that I do I don't get paid, and I don't really want to get paid. I just want to belong to stuff, very tribal, if you will, and I keep on throwing out members of the Great Ape family, but like we want to belong to things. We want to feel a part of something. Like we want to be loved. We want to love. And I really feel like a strong community, whether it's the tech community or the music community, they all fit together and empower us to do a great job. There's some days I work like 17, 18 hours, and I get home, I feel like I haven't even worked because I love what I do. I am a single dad, and I bring my child along. Like my son, who's 13 years old, works Sonic Lunch for me, and he works harder than any of the college kids or high school kids. And it's not because I'm going to beat him if he doesn't. It's because he wants to work hard because he sees how hard I work, and it's something that I feel like people really need to instill in their children in the next generation of leaders. You can quote me on that. I'm at Treetown Sound, which is right up here. Or my other 25 Twitters and my aliases that no one knows, so I can actually talk trash to people I don't like. I got a giant beard in one of them. I do, actually. So sticking back to free is the new black. I mean, I think all of us can understand how we're competing for people's time. So a lot of you are in the tech community right now. So what can you do to make people check it out? What can you do to get their time? So many bands right now, you'll notice they're giving away all their music, and they have no choice. I mean, granted, your generation's never going to pay for it anyways, but it's really true. I just want to touch one more time on Bank of Ann Arbor because it's such an honor to work there and to talk about it because they're super involved in the tech community. So long story short, if you have a really good tech idea, I mean, we'll probably give you trillions and you can make billions. I know, right? I mean, they believed in me and you see how I'm all over the place. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. They told me after Joe I could only have 7 minutes. Thanks. You're welcome.
Matt's not kidding. He runs like every Twitter account in town. You know when he's on Twitter because your feed just blows right up. Okay.